We have a full moon now because we have the sun here in 11 in Sagittarius, and we have the moon opposite in 12 in Gemini. And the same axis, Gemini-Sagittarius, is where the nodes have been for the last 18 months. And they're just going to shift over into the Taurus-Scorpio axis and stay there for 18 months. So we can see that there is something here that we are finishing. Also, if we look at the line of the 12 and the 11, we see that it's in the 6th line. The 6th line is the last line of the hexagram. It's already overlooking the next hexagram. So powerful energies here of things that want to be kind of ended and looked at one last time before we can go to something new. And with the conjunction that we've had and that is going to be ongoing with Venus having passed over Pluto and then going retrograde over Pluto and then passing over again, we also see here there's also this theme of transformation and something that needs to die in order to be able to move on. And soon we're also going to have Pluto moving on into 60 after having been here in 61 for more than a year. And also we had a great conjunction there with Saturn and Jupiter in 2020. So themes of death and transformation and also new beginnings is what we have here. In this axis with Sagittarius and Gemini, we see that we have had earlier this week and still very close Mars and the North Node. And it feels like Mars is asking for understanding the core wound and understanding the EQ here. He's looking at the 34 and he's saying, okay, what is it in the past that have kept me stuck? What have kept me forcing something that would only go in loops or would only kind of create havoc? Because Mars is all about action, but when he is taking action in a low frequency, then he destroys things. And in the hologenetic profile, Mars codes for the core wound. Mars also codes for the EQ. So this is like the deepest part of us that continue over generations and generation in the lineage to not allow the DNA to evolve and hold more light. And that is also the theme of where the sun has been for the last few weeks. We have the codon ring of light 9, 5, 26, and 11. And here we have the gift frequencies of determination, of patience, of artfulness, and of idealism. So there is a conversation here between Mars and the South Node that says, okay, and what we see here is that the North Node is about presence. And that is the North Star, we can say. That's what we want to look at. That's what we want to go towards. And for me, what has come through for me a lot the last few days is the Christ consciousness that in a very simple sense can be equaled as presence. Be so completely there so that when people can feel that presence, they heal, the heart heals, because we aren't used to that much presence. The reason for the core wound and the EQ, the shadow frequencies in those spheres, is that our heart doesn't dare to trust. And instead, Mars is having us run around making war, running in circles, because we don't dare to trust. But when we can feel this pure presence, loving presence, that's when we start to calm down inside of us, the nervous system, everything, and we can start to heal. And we can start to give ourselves that presence, whether it comes from ourselves and our inner strength that dares to be there even when it's scary, or it's something on the outside like Jesus Christ or that kind of presence and consciousness that is touching us. This is what's going to start to happen. We can start to relax. We can start to come back to our bodies. We can start to reconnect. And that is very, very much what's going to happen with the nodes when they turn over here to the Taurus-Scorpio axis. It has to do with coming back into the body. It has a lot to do with also reconnecting with our sexuality, because we have that both in the sensuality of Taurus and the more kind of darker side and deeper side and psychological side of sexuality in Scorpio. So that's going to be where we're coming. And I believe that that is also where we're going to see, again, these different realities like we're speaking about here in Sagittarius. Some people are going to live in optimism and expansion and seeking the truth, their own truth through their own presence in every moment. And other people are going to struggle because they're going to kind of have an outside authority, not an inner authority. And they're going to be outside informed from the outside and believe in things from the outside instead of finding that truth inside. So the coming back to your body that never lies is extremely important. To dare to go to the sexuality where often the deepest wounds of abandonment or rejection, like the deepest wounds lie there. And in sexuality, there's nothing that we can hide. When we're that naked and that penetrated, there is nothing that can be under the surface anymore. And that's what Scorpio does. It goes down to those deep water and says, what's there? What is it that's ready to transform? What is it that's ready to come to the surface? And Taurus is all about the body and the value of the body, of the senses, of being truly home in our vehicle. Here we're looking at the hologenic profile for the full moon. And we see some different numbers from the astrology. And that is because here we have both personality and the sign, and we only have the closer planets. So we're not going to have Neptune, for example. We're not going to have Pluto. We're not going to see those aspects here in how they are relating to each other in the wheel, the different planets. But we can see, for example, that we do have the sun and the earth here, and the earth is going to be the same placement as the full moon because they are together, because there is an opposition to the sun. We see, for example, like I was saying, we have the EQ, we have Mars here that I was mentioning before. So a 6-2 profile. So it's talking about role modeling. This full moon is about starting to role model something. And when we look what it's anchored in, the core stability, it's anchored in 2 gates, 2 jinkies that are part of the cross of the vessel of love. It's the love of the body, and it's also the love of spirit, the love of our innocence as human beings. The second line is connected to our physicality, to the flow of what it is to be human and dancing through life. And also that actually merging with the other. You see the line 2 is marriage. So here we see that theme again that we saw in the axis Scorpio, Taurus. It is the love of the body. It is the innocence, the truth, we could say, that the body provides to be here in this temple. There is a purity in that, which goes together. Of course, the 12 and the 25 for me are both keys that are taking us back to our innocence, to the purity of our heart. I also believe that it's interesting and important that we have a 6-line attraction. So this again is our sexuality. And I always say with the 6 line, when we have it in transit, when we have it in our charts, this is the lovemaking that is tantric, that includes those, we could say 3 parts, but there is, of course, the same way that there are chakras. There are not only 7 chakras, there are 1,000 chakras. The same thing with those like parts of our energy pillar or layers of existence. The 6th line recognizes that we are here in an animal body, that the way that humans connect to each other is physical. The way that we make love, the way that we merge, the way that we reproduce, it's all through our animal bodies. And that can be different soon through the raves, because they are going to have a different kind of awareness, and they are going to have an ability to be intimate where it doesn't have to be 2 bodies touching each other. But so far as we are humans, that physical aspect is so important. And it also goes back to here, the love of the physical form and the marriage of how we merge. The 6th line also recognizes that we have a human heart, and that the expansion lies in how much we can include and embrace with this open heart. And since the 6th line is a mental line, 5 and 6 are mental, it recognizes the objectivity of our mind and that it's an important part of our being. And the sixth line also goes beyond that. So it includes spirit. It's actually grounded in spirit. So we see that here with the sixth line, we recognize not only the human being, but also the way that we make love, the way that intimacy for a human being works is animal, human, and creative, spiritual. And for me, again, this goes back to, we are in December and this is the last full moon. And like I said before, the Christ legend or legacy has come back to me a lot the last week. And this is the way that Christ was walking through the world in physical form, divine in physical form, with an immense human heart. With intelligence that went beyond just the mind, and a strong connection to spirit. And we have the 21 here, which is authority. He was not here to control anything. He couldn't even control that he wouldn't end up on the cross. He wasn't here to control. It wasn't that kind of masculine, what we were speaking before with the core wound and the EQ, when you're trying to force things. No, he was here to be in his authority. He was here to show valor, and that is part of daring to end his life like that. And I also believe that here we have the sacred marriage between Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ, because they were maybe the first sacred couple that showed us that it's not about marriage. It's not about what family you come from. It's not about all these outer things. The quality of intimacy, the quality of how you connect with another person doesn't depend on any of those outer things. It depends on how deeply grounded you are in your physical body, how open your heart is, how strong your connection to spirit is. And that is the tantric way of lovemaking. And the legend of Maria Magdalene and Jesus is embodying that truth. And they were showing that to the world. And I believe, as Richard Rudd is saying, that a lot of where the world is going to see this role modeling, which is the 6-2, it is through those kinds of couples. Because when there is something so intact, when you are in the aura of a couple like that, that it's so stable, you just trust it. It's this core stability between the innocence, the merging of the marriage, and their complete trust in what it is to be here in physical form as a woman and a man. And there is no confusion. There is a purity, an innocence, a clarity, an authority that comes with that. And looking a little bit further in this hologenic profile, we also see we have the 44.6. And this, I think, has been here before for the last few new moons and full moons as a theme. This is about our fractal. It's a 6 line. So it feels like we are coming to that point where there's more and more and more urgency to find our true soul fractal, the people that are in teamwork with us, the people that can be in synergy, the people where interference, it's going to be there, but it's something that we work through so that we can create something greater together. And that's the heart of it for this full moon. And it's like summing up somehow this year, because it is the last full moon. We also know, like I said before, it's a Gemini full moon that also goes with kind of those close relationships like brothers and sisters. That doesn't have to be the brothers and sisters that are our biological brothers and sisters. It is to be in communication, to be in connection with these people that can find the truth with us. The culture is about revolution. So for me, this goes very much together again with this 10.5, which is where the sun is on December 24th, which is also this heretic that speaks the truth. And I did a video earlier this week about the 10.5 and also the Christ consciousness, to be okay with being burnt at stake for your truth that comes from your naturalness and the knowing of love and direction, which is the 10 in the G center. And the 49.5 is very connected to that 10.5. So it's also about that heretic, about creating that revolution that is based out of the mutation that is happening in the solar plexus center. which is all about the purification of this emotional center so that we can use it as an awareness center that works together with the spleen, the physical intelligence and intuition, that kind of awareness, and also the intelligence of our mind. And what I was saying before, a mind is not only left brain, but that actually has that balance between both hemispheres. So those two awareness centers, the ajna and the spleen, together with the emotional center, that is our new compass. And this culture is showing us that it's time to include that, to start to have emotional clarity of what serves us and what doesn't serve us, and to have the courage to make a revolution. Very connected as well to the 21 of that kind of tribal authority. Both these are tribal. So again, it speaks about that community, the people that we want to shake hands with, sit around the same table with, touch, smell. These are the people in the tribal, the people that you know, the people that are close to you, that you trust in that tribal sense, that they are not going to break, the principles that are set for that community. So higher principles are important. And then we have 2 numbers left that we haven't spoken about, and the core wound is the first line. So it's asking us to go deep and look at the parts of us where we might not have dared to look before. And this goes together with, like we said, the Scorpio-Taurus axis. They are asking us to go deep. It goes together with Venus conjunct Pluto, going back and forth because she goes retrograding and back again. So there are those deep, deep things. There are things that need to be looked at, where we need to be more honest. Self-honesty is the first line. Things that have been out of integrity, that need to transform, that need to shift. So coming into integrity through going deep and seeing those things that can be terrified to look at, but it's still better to look at it. And if we have this is Mars and this is Mars. If we have this inner strength, it's the 5th line, so it has to be a powerful inner strength. If we have that, we can look at what we haven't dared to look at before. And then the pearl, the essence of this, is the lightness of the heart. That also goes together with this codon ring of light that we're speaking about. When you hold that lightness in your heart, then there is a way forward. Then there is a way of finding your fractal. There is a way of making love so that you connect with God, with body, with your heart. So this is a very, very powerful full moon with a lot of themes that are also connected to a higher consciousness. So let me know if this resonated, and I'll be back next week.